Welcome back, everyone. My name's Alex, and that's my co-host, Eileen, and you guys are watching and listening to Straight to the Chicane podcast. And this week, we're talking about the Bahrain GP.
Yes.
It was Formula One back where they were for testing, so they kind of already, with these cars, already knew exactly what they wanted to do and exactly what the course was going to be.
Yeah. Who was going to suck and who wasn't going to suck.
And there was already a lot of predictions already of who was going to win this, and going into it, it was already going to be a McLaren 1-2, and if it was things like that were all going to happen. So it was an interesting race. It was a little it was a two-stopper that kind of turned into what? A three-stopper for some people?
I enjoyed the race. I had a good time.
I'm sure people did, but like honestly, you could watch the last few laps.
Sure.
And that's all you really needed besides maybe qualifying because, you know.
I think it was interesting because this was like, it felt like the first race we had like really actual strategy.
There was strategy. Absolutely.
Actual decisions that needed to be made. And everyone did something different.
And maybe I'm a hater on this one for this week.
Maybe you are.
I guess. Maybe because I just had a whole lot going on. I didn't really have the full vested interest into it this week that I should have.
Yeah.
I know, looking into it, I know Sainz had a crazy experience of just fighting everybody.
Yeah.
There was a penalty with Hulkenberg. Oscar just pretty much had a flawless weekend.
There was some great defending.
What else did we have? I know
good
there was
stuff.
a lot of, yes.
There was a lot of good stuff. I think it was just cool to see all the different types of strategy when it came to tires. Like at one point, the second stop, once everyone like made it through their second stop, we had like a handful of people on the softs. We had a handful of people on the hards. We had a handful of people on the mediums. Like it was all playing out different. Obviously, at the start, we had mediums and then mediums for 5 drivers and everyone else on softs. So who's going to be able to manage them the longest? What tire strategy are they going to go to? We knew it was going to be a 2-stopper, like you said.
Yeah.
We did have some people do 3 stops, but
yeah, it was
fun. It was exciting. We had a lot of overtaking.
Maybe it's because I don't really like this track personally, I guess.
You are a hater.
But no, there was some good overtaking, and with some car issues with George and Lando at the end of the race caused that to be a very interesting ending.
I mean, I think there was, obviously we're coming off of a race, there was like literally no overtaking. Sure. So I think everybody was excited because there was, some stuff. And it was down to the end, like not just with the leaderboard, but there was battles going on all over the track.
There was, and there was a little bit of drama because Red Bull wasn't really performing well. Plus, they had some pit stop issues with times, and we can get into that. We will. But yeah, so there's totally. You're right. Maybe I'm gaining a little bit more interest into it now that we're talking about it.
Now I'm getting you riled up.
You're starting to help me remember everything that actually did happen. So yeah,
honestly, I mean, I had a lot of fun. I feel like, we didn't have as many track limits violations as we normally would here.
Well, we had the black and yellow.
We did have
black and white. I mean,
we did have a few, but for qualifying, it really wasn't as bad. And to be quite honest, speaking of qualifying, we only had a couple laps get deleted, but we had Hulkenberg who somehow made it through to Q2 when he shouldn't have.
He should not have. Correct.
And we didn't find out that his lap time was deleted till Q3. So that was like the controversy. But.
And I mean, you got to chalk that up to a little bit of the, the judges and the FIA and all those, the stewards and all them not being able to probably have enough time to go through all the things that they need to go through in order to keep the timing correctly. Can they do better? I'm sure they can do better, but.
Or is now the time to discuss the fact that F1 TV and the graphics and all their own mechanics and everything, not mechanics, but the inner workings of the timings coming through. I mean,
so you're talking about their graphics designer, their
somebody unplugged the whole system this weekend. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, I don't know if there has been. I mean, we're kind of late getting this out today. We're not as usually we do these podcasts on the day of. So we're really fresh with it, but we had a bunch of things, so we had to push it a little bit. So I don't know. Has there been any follow up?
There hasn't been anything come out. I'll tell you what. I mean, they said that there was some control system issues.
Well, let's break it down because that's exactly what the issue was. So I'm sure most of us know that we're paying attention and probably on Twitter and stuff. The timing tree that's usually on the left hand side of the screen gives us all the information: how far apart, the intervals are between drivers, who's in what place in the driver, pretty much what lap are on, what tires they're on.
Yeah.
If there's if someone's maybe questionable getting a penalty, there's all kinds of little things. Who has the fastest lap, right? But this week there was major malfunctions, and it just kind of escalated. At first it was
like we got the safety car, and then like 2 laps later, it was like shit was just going haywire. And first of all, it was like George was P2, and then all of a sudden George was gone. Like George was out of the race.
And then if you looked at the actual map of it, he was he was completely off the track.
It was like when your phone isn't connected and it cannot register where you are. Like you do find your friend, and your friend is like in the ocean. Like that was George. Like he was just missing. And so, I mean, at first, you never know what could be happening. We weren't cut to George, so all of a sudden he's just dwindling down, like, and he's in P20. And
well, you did hear Crofty and them say, well, I see him still in P2. I know he's on there. But, however, due to the commentary and the action of talking and trying to keep the entertainment up for all of us people that were watching, it kind of quickly got forgotten that he was off.
But it was like he went from P20 to P2, and then he was like back down to P20, and then he was like falling and going up. It was
so
crazy.
That's the first issue.
And then after that, it was just like problems. Like the timing board just disappeared, and so we didn't have it on the left-hand side of the screen. So I was looking at the app, and the app was like pretty accurate. Like it still showed that Russell was P2. So I'm like, okay, I can, keep an eye on this. But then even that started to malfunction where like the times weren't changing, and it would go from like 1.5 gap to 3 seconds. And I'm like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden it had been gone. And then we got a new timing board on the right-hand side. So they were like, okay, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
So they provided us with something.
It's interesting.
I swear to God, somebody stepped on the wrong power button. Somebody unplugged the wrong cord to plug their phone charger in. I don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely an issue, and it definitely, we like the timing board. It helps us kind of keep into it.
It helps.
It has the commentaries. That's how they get a lot of their information.
You have a million TVs set up. You can't watch enough to really be able to see what
you're saying is we need more TVs here.
So we apparently we need all of our TVs plugged in and displaying Formula One.
Heard it here first. That's it.
We're watching the main broadcast, which probably most people are watching the main broadcast. So. Listen,
meaning the international broadcast that you can watch on ESPN.
It wasn't work. I don't think
Sky Sports.
Yeah, it wasn't working for the regular one either.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't the first race that we've had issues.
Oh no, it's
this year.
It's usually seasonal too. It happens every year.
It was tough. We figured it out, but like I said, there was a lot of like close battles that we were watching, and then it's like you don't even know how close they are.
Correct. And I don't think that, kind of bringing it back to where we started with this little moment is, I don't think that has to do with the stewards. That has to do with F1.
Sure.
Right. And the broadcast team and somebody doing graphics.
I think I'm just relating the delay and things.
You are related to delay of things for what the stewards have to do. And the reason why maybe F1 TV or whoever's broadcasting that at that, It's F1 TV.
F1 TV needs to get their lives together. This is a PSA to F1 TV. Help a sister out. Help the Formula One community out.
As a shareholder, I understand.
Give us the graphics. Give us what we want.
Got it.
So yes, I think that was interesting. But I do feel like it all kind of stemmed from George's issues. Like he was clearly having a lot of problems in his car. Mm-hmm. It started with him, and then it was like just accelerated from there. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was where it started, and I think they panicked and they were able to get the backup one on.
Yeah, they were like, they obviously were tracking the rookies. That's like the graphic that they used, and then they had to turn that into the top 10 timing
They did.
board.
They had to. But now are we good? We talked about our issues with
We're good.
We're not good.
We're good on F1 TV. Get it together.
We're good on the graphics.
Get it together this weekend.
I think the next thing we should talk about is how well I think Haas did. Surprisingly, they both finished in top 10.
We'll say how well Haas did during the Grand Prix, not during qualifying.
Sure.
Like,
they had a really good turn of events because of certain things that happened, i.e. Max Verstappen and Yuki had really bad stops. And that kind of pushed them back maybe 1 or 2 stops. As I've heard some people say that they probably could have finished 1 or 2 people ahead, i.e. meaning Verstappen could have probably been ahead of Lewis at finish, and Yuki could have not been 9th or 10th, but 9th or 8th.
Yeah. So, maybe Max would have had a go at Lewis. I don't know if he would have gotten past him. But
Possibly.
But yeah, let's talk about Haas.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about your boy, Ali.
He got points.
He started last.
He did.
P20.
He did.
He was last.
Mm-hmm.
And he finished in the points.
A hell of a race.
Many people would say that Ali Behrman was their driver of the day.
I would say he's my driver of the day if we're going to say that word out loud right now.
That's your fan vote?
As my driver of the day. That would have been where my fan vote is, because yes, again, a rookie doing that is pretty impressive.
In a Haas.
Yeah. Which is now proving again that Haas is not the slowest car. It's a little bit better. It's in the midfield now. And then, so.
Impressive. Like, it really is. They had a good strategy. Ocon also qualified bad. He crashed in Q2.
Yeah.
So he was out, obviously. So he started 16th, I think, because somebody got moved up. But so poor position for both of them. Ocon finished 8th and Behrman finished 10th. Like, pretty stellar.
Pretty stellar.
They are, they've been pretty consistent for their own performance. But they're definitely, I would say, up there in the midfield.
Yeah. And that was just my notable thing, because it was impressive to have them there. And honestly, they got all the team was interviewed. Their driver principal was team principal was.
He was so excited.
Yeah. It was really good to see. Well deserved. Good job, guys.
I feel like it was a lot of good mix up. And now we're officially 4 races into the season, and every single team has scored points already.
Yeah, which is
because Alpine finally.
Previous years it wasn't that.
I know. Alpine finally got on the board, so I feel like that's. Super exciting to see. I think that just goes to show what we're going to see for the rest of the year.
So speaking of Alpine, Gasly had a pretty good weekend. He was qualified pretty high.
He qualified P5.
And
then got moved up because Antonelli got a penalty. So he started P4.
Yeah.
And he literally battled Max all the way to the end. Impressive.
And Max got him on the last lap.
He
did.
Max Verstappen, a 4-time world champion and a Red Bull, who would have thought he'd be battling it out for P6?
Yeah, and so I think we're starting to see the struggle a little bit with Red Bull. Alpine and Gasly had a good.
Alpine had a pretty good weekend. Jack was in the points for some time.
A little.
Yeah, and he had a much better qualifying session. So
it was more, honestly, it was the most upbeat I've seen him after a race.
Yeah.
He definitely was, talked about strategy working for them and things like that. So I would agree. Yeah. It was
I think a much better weekend for them. Obviously, they secured their first points. He's a rookie. I think he has a lot of pressure, which we've clearly talked about before. But
maybe that pressure is finally, maybe this kind of was the easing point, and then maybe it starts easing from here, because again, all these drivers have already had experience here testing this year in these cars.
Yeah.
So I think that is just shows now, all right, he's more comfortable at that track.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't really, there was some bumping, there was some hitting. Williams with Carlos and Yuki kind of bumping and grinding a little bit.
Yeah.
But it seemed like Williams and Carlos in particular kind of was involved in a lot. He was making a lot of moves.
Carlos got a lot of screen time.
He did, because honestly, usually it's the front rows, the front 2 or 3 that are getting a lot of the screen time, because that's where the nose of the action is. But some races that are like this one, that the first guy is just pulling away, and there's just no way. When they cut away before the second lap, because he's already well over a second away, it's usually a sign of, all right, let's see what the midfield's got for us.
Listen, I know we're talking about a lot right now, but Oscar was on a different planet this weekend.
Yeah.
I think, and I said it to you already, but I think he was offended after the last race. He was like, "Oh, everybody wants to talk about how I need to overtake Lando on the track. Well, hold up. Let me show you what I'm all about."
Well, I can just qualify in front.
He just came in and it was like P1, P1. I mean, I honestly, his qualifying laps were like no one could come close. But then George Russell was like, "Hello, I'm here. And I'm ready to like put this Mercedes where no one thinks I can put it."
I mean, he can look. Mercedes is always right there.
They are, but
George puts down a really good run. But yeah, Oscar's on a different level right now.
Was one with the car this weekend.
You know what and then you see his teammate just saying that the car kind of bites me. The car is not really right for me, and
he doesn't feel comfortable with the car. Yeah.
But I would say Oscar is like calm. That's what I think I like about Oscar a lot.
He's not very emotional.
No,
he
and that
really
that's
like
the thing is he's calm no matter what, and he's making decisions calmly, whether in bad ones or in good ones. He can do it calmly, and like I just saw a meme where it was like
I saw it too.
Him like in last place, and he's like this. And then him winning is, this race, and he's like this.
And then him when he's mad, and him when he's sad, and it's the same face. Like
so he's very level-headed, and I appreciate seeing that because too often we see a lot of temper and heated, and I get it. There's passion in the story, and you can yell at me about that because I get it. There's totally passion in road rage or motorsport rage or whatever you want to call it.
Listen, I get mad when I'm driving on the road too, so I can only imagine.
Yeah, so I understand, but like for him being calm and still, this is only his third year, just shows how really talented he truly is.
Yeah, it was impressive. I mean, I think really he's been faultless with the exception of Australia, which is sad 'cause it's his home race.
Well, yeah.
And he made a mistake, and obviously, but at the end of he also reversed that thing back on the track and finished the race. So, I think we got a real championship battle on our hands here.
Yeah, and also we do because he's within now 3 points, and we didn't really mention that at the start of the race, Lando rolled forward.
Well, we didn't mention it.
It's fine, I know, but rolled forward. And had a 5-second penalty, which he was able to claw back due to Red Bull problems
and the pace of the McLaren. I'm like, the McLaren is fast as expected.
And so like anyone that saw the race, I'm curious on your opinion, and I'm curious on yours. Do you think that Lando would have passed George if there would have been one more lap or 2 more laps?
I don't know, honestly. Maybe. But George was defending well, and I think George even said like, "Oh, I expected Lando to just like breeze past me. I expected him to just like have a lot more pace, and he didn't."
Yeah,
I think. Listen, I've not been a hater of George, but obviously I'm a Lewis stan.
You've been a critic of him because you're also a Valtteri Bottas fan,
and I was a Valtteri Bottas fan. And I will, gave George a lot of shit. And so, but he is impressing me. And I think he's impressing a lot of people.
Well, I think that car is also really, it's pretty good. I mean, you're right. He is. And Antonelli is doing a really good job in that car too for being a rookie.
Yeah.
I think you're right. George is to be reckoned with. He is a talented driver, and he's proven it. He's been here a while now.
I mean, here's what I'm going to say is obviously, do I think that Lando could have overtaken George? There's a possibility, but only because George's car was literally falling apart.
Well, that's what I'm asking. That's kind of what I'm asking because his car was falling apart.
Like
he was doing resets. He had brake issues.
His
DRS was not really working. It apparently opened when it wasn't supposed to.
Apparently DRS was an issue this weekend because Charles's DRS opened in one of the turns and it wasn't supposed to. He was having issues with it. But George had the brakes weren't working. The steering wheel was about to go out. He's like, as long as it doesn't fall off, things will be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're racing high speed, battling Lando and probably a faster car. I don't know. I was impressed. George he impressed me.
All right, so it's a maybe. I'm curious on what you guys think on that one. Okay, so let's talk about Red Bull now because there was a lot of issues with Red Bull.
My God, the downfall of Red Bull right now is.
I mean, there's a little bit of. I want a little bit of the tea as well because I know you were telling me, and I also heard from Ted Kravitz too that there was some arguing and people mad. So I think the first thing is they really didn't perform as well as they could have. They didn't qualify as well as they definitely issues. Max was complaining of not even being able to turn the car, and they were saying you can add more to a flap weekend. And he's like, "What would that do if my car still won't turn?" So there was a lot of back and forth with just that.
Yeah, this is like the first time we've seen Max kind of have a poor qualifying, like due to just car performance too.
Sure,
absolutely. I mean, shit, we just saw him win the race. Like.
He still can put that car in the
We saw him take pole. So it's like you can't really ever count Max out.
Nope.
But this weekend, it was a struggle and it didn't get any better. So
it didn't get any better. And so they qualified kind of lower than what anybody really expected.
Yeah. P7 for Max.
And honestly, I'm going to say this out loud. I would have never thought I would seen the day that Red Bull would have the slowest pit stops.
Not just
hold on. Let me just finish, because for like a decade, so like 10
they have
10
the
years,
world record.
They do, and for like 10 years, they have always had the season record of the fastest pit stops, and it was always like they were always the most consistent on being the fastest at pit stops.
Oh my god!
So,
crazy.
Like I just said, never would I have ever thought that they would have this many issues with their pit stops, and now being considered some of the slowest pit stops. Not as slow as the Valtteri Bottas wheel lock.
I know.
That was one of the worst I've ever seen. That took days.
Yeah.
But in a race, this was pretty bad. They had technical issues with their lighting system because they use a lighting system for their drivers. Red means stop, hold. Green means get the hell out of there and go.
Clear to go.
You're right. And none of that was working. It was flashing red and yellow. It was causing major delay.
But here's the thing: is they obviously pit their first pit stops. Okay, I could see.
Okay,
I could see maybe both Max and Yuki have an issue because maybe they couldn't figure it out after the first pit stop. But the third pit stop, to be even slower, was a combination, the light, and then Max's tire wouldn't come off. And
you saw him shake his head, which was pretty clear. It was pretty funny because he just looks at the guy, changing the tire, and goes.
And normally we're used to them cutting to Max, and we get the reaction of him, like, what the F?
And I don't think he said anything.
And he probably was like, you know what? What else can go wrong at this point?
Yeah.
Post the second pit stop, I mean, Max has literally never, I don't know how long it's been in last place for a full lap in a Grand Prix, and he was plumb last, P20. Coming out.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I am shook. Like, I gasped. I was like, oh my God. Can you believe this?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It was pretty crazy. Although that was the way with the slow pit stop, with now being the second stop, the second round, and him being one of the early ones to go to that. It just was bad timing for all around.
Very bad.
But he was able to claw back. I mean, due to other people's pits, doing their pit stops, and him doing probably the best that he could with that car, and finishing right behind Lewis. Not too bad. And battling for the most part the rest of that race with Pierre.
I know. An Alpine holding off Max Verstappen.
I know. You see it from time.
Listen, I'll say it now, and we can get into the Red Bull tea, but I voted for Gasly for driver of the day.
Okay.
I was impressed with the way he held his ground.
On that particular.
And he also qualified very well. But
he
I mean, listen, I thought it was impressive. So
okay.
There's a lot of people that could have been driver of the day this weekend. I also feel like George could have been.
And Oscar could have been because he was flawless all weekend.
Exactly.
So I agree with that on as well. All right. So give me some of that tea, because I know there was Helmut Marko. There was Max's dad. There's a bunch of things going on.
Yes.
So please tell me.
So first, what I will say, the rumor is that Max has a clause in his contract that if he finishes lower than P3 in the Drivers' Championship, he can get out of his contract. Will it happen? We don't know. So, but things aren't looking great at Red Bull, and they're progressively getting worse, it feels like. Obviously, we saw a lot of leadership changes last year. I saw a content creator. I showed you the video last night. Mm-hmm. I think we talk about the second Red Bull seat curse. I thought, she put it very well. She said, we call that mismanagement in the leadership team here. in corporate America. And it's kind of true. Like I've said, they're very tough on their drivers. But so post-race, allegedly, Ted Kravitz overheard Max Verstappen's
This is what I heard.
manager getting into an argument with Helmut Marko and it not going well in the garage.
So this is kind of all these rumors that we hear like a lot. Like,
And
this isn't the first time even this year we've heard.
We know Max's dad has been very open since, he was calling for Christian Horner to resign last year when all that drama was going on.
Sure.
And he was like, listen, like when we're prioritizing your personal life over Max and his driving, there's a problem.
No problem.
So, we saw that got kind of swept away. Who knows? We saw Adrian Newey leave. We saw Jonathan Wheatley leave. We saw a lot of like change. There are obviously some changes with their pit crew. One of their lead mechanics isn't on the pit team anymore. He's still with the Red Bull camp, but
he's not. He's right. He's not at every race.
There's a lot of changes happening there.
Sure.
The car is not making progression since post summer break last year. Max has been delivering, but there's more under the surface that's happening that probably people don't know about. We're starting to see some things bubble over because Max isn't able to pull that tractor around and, make it work and make him look like a superhero and make Red Bull look like they're doing okay. I think that we're starting to see some things crack.
Yeah, you're right. And they are starting to crack. And it's sad because this is only Yuki's second race.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually got some points this weekend, and he was probably going to get some more points due, other than the pit stops.
Well, he did. And so with that being said, so this is the first time a Red Bull second seat driver has scored points in 175 days. So since Vegas of last year.
So it's been a minute.
It's been many races. I think 6 in total.
It's been a minute.
So, they were all like, oh my God, this is the first time we've scored double points. So it was a win. So, but yeah, it's never good when you hear management is fighting with obviously team leadership.
Yeah.
Like who's making the right decision here? What the heck is going on? So, we've heard a lot about, is Toto going to go after Max? Is Max looking at the Mercedes now? And he's like, and Mercedes is looking good. And he's thinking about making a change. Who knows? On the flip side, we also see George Russell in the news is allegedly going to be signing another 2-year extension with a $30 million price tag.
Which I do see that happening totally.
I do too.
Yeah.
He's taking the reins of that team lead, and Antonelli is doing well. He had a shit strategy this weekend. Like he did not have a good strategy.
No.
He was put on softs way too early, and then onto the safety car had to go get another set of softs. But so that kind of didn't work out too great for him.
All right, so Ferrari, let's kind of get into them real quick.
Let's talk.
So, performance-wise, they did okay, on standings, But
listen, Leclerc was P3 in qualifying.
He was. Finished P4, P5, they did.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, not bad.
I think Leclerc I think they had a good Grand Prix.
They did have a good Grand Prix.
Yeah. So, I think, qualifying for Lewis hasn't been great. We saw him struggle a little bit last year. He was super self-critical of himself this weekend. As always, I feel like, he's tough on himself. Same with Lando. Lando's was very tough on himself. Like, I don't even know how to drive a Formula One car.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. So, they both were really, really negative post-qualifying, but Lewis had a
Yeah, Lewis is down. I kept hearing like Lewis is sad. Lewis is not happy about it.
Yeah, well, he wasn't. He was very vocal, and then post-race, he had a whole different kind of spiel. But then we also heard that his dog wasn't doing well. His dog had pneumonia. His dog sitter we saw on social media. So maybe that's why he wasn't having a great weekend. He was just down in the dumps. But listen, I'm standing on business.
Uh-oh.
I'm standing on business when it comes to Lewis because I'm so sick and tired of the narrative of people. First of all, like, stop watching the sport and being an asshole, like, to everybody, okay? You can have your feelings, but you don't need to seriously make a decision based on one thing that happens. Like, oh, he needs to retire, he needs this. Okay, please stop. It's so annoying. But anyways, I'm sure someone's probably going to be like, shut up to me. But clearly he knows what he's doing. He did say that post Grand Prix, like, clearly I know how to drive. But it's just like, honestly, it's like every weekend we have to hear the same narrative from Lewis. I don't hear people saying the same thing about Fernando Alonso. I don't hear the same thing talking about, Carlos Sainz, who's struggling at Williams.
Yeah.
It's like,
He also had a hole in his car this weekend, though.
okay, he still hasn't scored any points.
Truth.
So, and I like Carlos. Listen, Carlos qualified very well. He had a lot of action going on in the Grand Prix.
He had a lot of going on.
Some people are...
On a penalty for it, too.
Yeah, some people say, did he do something dirty? Did he not do something dirty? Who knows? There was a lot happening. But as far as Lewis, it's been 4 races. I think he proved that he knows how to drive. He obviously won the sprint race. He put it on pole there for the sprint race.
He did.
He does struggle a little bit with qualifying, but he was very vulnerable and said, listen, I've been driving the same car for so long that I need to change my own driving style to adapt to this car.
And I will add that even his team is saying the car needs to be faster everywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Charles had a great weekend and performed well, but still, he even said, listen, we're just not fast enough to compete.
No.
But they're making steps. They brought an upgrade this weekend. I think they got the strategy right mostly. I was expecting them to go on softs.
I was expecting them to go on softs.
And
Thank you.
I'm like, would they, because
even instead of used softs, they could have done.
I know. I think it was like the gamble of, are the tires going to hold up? Because Ferrari has been proven to have, I think, a little bit more tire deck.
Yeah.
And so I think they were nervous, but they nailed it. They started on mediums. They lasted longer than other teams. They were 1-2 at one point when the pit stops started.
That was all great. That was
They
all
went
great.
on to the mediums. They had a great middle stint. That's when Lewis and Charles were both like, damn, it felt good. We were dialed in. And then the safety car happens and they both go on hards. George goes on softs, thinks it's audacious. Are they going to make it?
It was the right move, really.
And it was the right move.
Yeah.
So, maybe we could have seen a little bit more, but...
All right. You've sold me.
Good. I'm selling you on this weekend.
It was a good weekend.
Yeah, it was fun, wasn't it?
All right. It was. It was a lot more interesting than I can remember. I must have... Yeah, you're right.
It was good. I mean, I feel like, listen, Oscar fully deserved the win. I think George impressed. I think Lando was... Martin Brundle was real tough on Lando during the race.
He was.
He was like, this just goes, he's making his racecraft is not good this weekend. And, he locked up. He had the issue at the start.
There's a few lockups, you know what I mean? Because there was a lot of people pushing that one turn going out of 2. That's a really good transition spot for overtakes and stuff like that.
They love to go wide and then get them on the inside.
Deep, and then someone go late, early in on the inside. Yeah, it's an interesting spot.
Yeah.
And you saw a lot of smoking tires out there this weekend.
We did. One of the reasons that Carlos Sainz got a penalty, because he locked up and ran Antonelli off the track.
And then we also see Hulkenberg got a penalty at the end of the race.
Hulkenberg got disqualified.
DQ'd for having his plank wear too much. So he had a Lewis Hamilton plank wear.
Oh, God. I know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy weekend. You're right. It was a crazy weekend.
It was, and honestly,
we
didn't even get into the narrative of all the penalties. Carlos Sainz got a 10-second penalty for locking up on the restart of the safety car, okay? And I don't think it was turn 2. It was turn 4. But Antonelli, great job on him because he didn't get hit. And he went wide himself. But so Carlos got the 10-second penalty. He already has a hole in his car. After him and Yuki were battling, Yuki bumped. It was like bump, bump, and then, a hole in the side of the Williams.
Yeah.
Yuki did not get a penalty.
Yeah. Weird.
Little strange. And then I don't even know how many penalties Liam Lawson got. I'm pretty sure it was a 5-second and a 10-second.
I'm pretty sure you're correct about that.
And then Jack Doohan got a penalty post-race, black and white flag.
And honestly, we didn't really even talk much about Racing Bulls this weekend, which we've given a lot of light of them previous episodes.
Yeah. Tough.
It was a little tough for them.
Tadjar had a really bad start at the beginning and just couldn't fight back. And so, that was difficult. And, Liam, just another tough weekend for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to be a lot to be desired after that with those guys. I don't know. I want to keep it short and sweet this weekend.
Well, we're going into the final race of the triple header, which is exciting.
We are.
So we're going to Jeddah, which, has only been around for a couple years. We had a lot of fun there in 2021.
I like Jeddah. It's high speed, high action.
We just breezed over that. We had a lot of stress in 2021 there.
We did. We always do. Yeah, but that's that particular thing was the different stress. That was because of the battle between Max and Lewis. But
I know.
it's a good track. It's high speed, lots and lots of turning.
Yeah. I feel
hot.
yeah.
They do it, really
Super
cool on
hot.
the lights. You need to make sure you have your drink bottle there, Oscar, because I know there was an issue with his this year. So make sure that's working for them.
There's always someone having a problem.
Always.
Yeah, there's normally, I would say, a red flag almost every race. We've seen multiple red flags. We've seen a lot of issues during qualifying because it's so high speed. A lot of turns. It's like 27 turns.
I'll tell you what, though. A triple header being this kind of early in the season, I am ready for this to be a little break in between this one and the next one. I'll tell you what.
I know. We're coming to Miami now.
I know. It's crazy how fast it's going. Fast is quick and fast.
It's exciting though. I think we've had some tough, boring races with not a whole lot of overtaking. I think we're going to be getting into some tracks. Obviously, we know Miami's probably going to be similar, a little bit of a snooze fest, not a whole lot of overtaking.
I hope you're wrong. I
think Jeddah's going to be an exciting race. Like, I'm curious to see how Ferrari's going to do because historically they've been better there.
Sure.
So we'll see. But I think the best is yet to come.
I think it is really exciting because I don't think we've ever had like a top 4 in the drivers' championship, like really in the hunt. Like all four
are super close.
Yeah, the top 2 are within 3, but like the top 4,
Listen,
you wouldn't even be surprised if Ferrari can turn some things around and then they're in the hunt. Then you're talking 6 people.
Yeah.
So
I know.
it's still early.
A lot is going to happen. Listen, I know McLaren pulled ahead by a margin right now.
They are. They're as a drivers, as a constructors division, they really are.
Red Bull at this time last year, we need to keep that in mind, was leading the championship by a far margin.
Sure.
And McLaren ended up winning. And
I think McLaren's got the consistency right now, and if they can keep the consistency, they're going to be really, really tough. And we saw that previous years with Mercedes, with Red Bull, and all those things. So it's about consistency on the constructor side.
But they're leading both the championships, and they have 2 drivers, and Oscar's very open, saying he's not the number 2, and he's not going to succeed to Lando. So who's going to be punchier? Lando wants to win the championship by being the nice guy. That's what he said.
For sure.
So you can't win a championship being the nice guy. So the claws are going to come out eventually. And if it's between the 2 of them, some shit's about to go down. We see it every year. Whether they're teammates or not, it's the top 2 contenders are going to come to blows eventually. Right now, it's the 2 of them. So what's going to happen?
Yeah, exciting stuff to see.
Oscar Orlando. For
me, I already said I like Oscar.
But so you think Oscar for the championship?
I do.
Same.
There it is said. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think we've said enough. I think we'll see you guys in a very short period of time. It is for Jeddah.
Can't wait.
Until then, that's it for me. Thank you, Eileen.
Yes.
If you guys got any comments, please send them our way. Like, subscribe. If that's it, see you guys. Bye.
Bye.